Casting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Let us say we allow these 7,000 children to stay here and grow up American and go to our schools. What do we say to the 60,000 that are going to follow them? Right. And the 150,000 that will follow? Can we house them all, Father? Do we have the whereabouts? We can't even take care of our own kids here now.
That's Paul Rodriguez, Mexican, immigrant, liberal, talking to Don Lemon and expressing the views that a lot of Americans are expressing. I have a story here in my hand, folks. The death march through Brooks County, Texas, claimed the life of yet another illegal immigrant, a human skull and decomposed skeletal remains, all that's left of a person. That's 42 bodies that have been found this year in the desert-like ranch fields surrounding that area, and that's a Breitbart story, Breitbart.com. Joining us now is Bill Donohue, my friend, president of the Catholic League, and always great to see you, sir.
Thank you so much, Steve.
All right, once again, the Pope's remarks have been misinterpreted, and you believe this time they've been misinterpreted not only by the left, as they so often do to meet their agenda, but also by the right. Now, the Pope spoke out on this issue of the kids coming to our border without their parents and reaching our shores here and going over the border, and basically said that we have to they should be taken care of. The left, I believe, and you clear me up, interpreted that to mean that the Pope thinks they should stay here, and the right has their own interpretation. So tell us what he said and who's right and who's wrong.
Well, the Pope certainly has it right, and he's speaking as a quintessential Catholic, not just because he is the Holy Father, but because he just basically explains what Catholic teaching on the subject is. There's something for liberals and there's something for conservatives. The liberals like the idea, and conservatives need to get over it if they don't, which is that you have to tend to people who are the dispossessed. We don't go around asking people, if you found somebody in the street, let me show you your card, let me see your documents. What you do is you tend to the person. These children need our help and they need to be cared for. That, however, does not mean that once you're taken care of, that we need to retain you, that you've got a carte blanche right to stay in the United States for the rest of your life. The Holy Father understands the need to secure our borders. But he also says that if you're here, you first tend to the people in a humanitarian way. Now, you have people on the left who are misinterpreting this by saying that the Pope is saying everybody's allowed to come in, open borders, welcome the whole world, and take care of them. The Americans have an obligation to take all these people. He never said anything of that nature. Then you have people on the right, like Michael Savage, who have made some pretty savage kinds of remarks about the Pope and calling him a communist and saying he's trying to exploit this whole situation. No, what the Pope is simply saying is you have no choice but to tend to the needs of the needy once they're here. He doesn't say that therefore they have a right to stay here for the rest of their lives. If you want to deport, retain, he doesn't tell the people in a micromanagerial way what to do. And I don't like the caricature on the right or the left of the Pope.
Right, and he doesn't. He's not saying that anybody from any problematic country, economic circumstances, humanitarian circumstances, should be brought to the United States, need to be welcomed into the United States. He's just saying if they get here, you know, you got to feed them, clothe them, house them until they could be sent back.
That's right. That's right. And I see.
So what did Savage say?
As a Catholic, I find that very acceptable.
I think most people, even the senators on the right, are saying, take them to a hotel, give them a great meal or two, get them an outfit clothes-wise, clothe them, and then put them on an airplane and send them back. That would be $1,000 a person. But what did Savage say that upset you?
Savage is calling them all kinds of left-wing names. And acting as if the Pope is just has some special agenda, or that he's so soft that he doesn't care what happens. He said this on a radio show last week. Let me tell you what the Pope explicitly said. He said, we need to have the international community tell those nations down south in Central America that the trip up here is dangerous. We shouldn't encourage it. And indeed, we should help the developing world, the developed world should help these nations get development so that maybe the people wouldn't have the same incentive to come here in the first place. He never said, you know, there's a green light, everybody's allowed in, do whatever you want, U.S. has obligations toward them. And Michael Savage, I think, was cruel in some of the language that he used against the Holy Father.
It's unusual for the right to attack the Pope.
Well, you know,
although I mean, Rush I'd use the word communist too, but then clarified that he didn't mean it.
He said some of his economic policies were Marxist and such, but he didn't have any kind of meanness to it.
But Savage went over that line.
And I defended Rush for being critical of the Pope without crossing the line. I think Mike did.
Yeah, savage remarks from Michael Savage.
Yeah.
All right, so where do you think, I mean, where does the Pope aside, is it acceptable, do you believe, to just clothe, house, feed, you know, dress these kids and then send them back? That's acceptable? The Pope would, maybe not the Pope aside, the Pope would accept that? Or would the Pope say, you can't send them back to where they ran from?
Let's put it this way. I can't speak for the Pope, obviously, but I've never heard the Pope say, and I've been looking at his words very carefully, saying that once they're in for good. And lose it or use it kind of thing. No way. He's never said anything of that nature. He understands the idea for border security, and the bishops in Texas have been very good in stressing this. So there's something for liberals and there's something for conservatives. It's called the Catholic way.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Pope. Since the last time we met, a lot has gone on. A lot is always happening. Every time he speaks. Do you believe that the left is still out there talking about their hopes that this Pope will accept gay marriage, will accept female priests, will you know their whole agenda, or have they backed off on that and calmed down on that?
That's an excellent question, because I think they're in flux. What I'm saying is this. There was a time not too long ago, 6 months ago, if we dialed it back, they're definitely pressing the Pope to make all these changes. I think they realize now there's a debate going on within the Catholic left. Is he going to do it or not? There's a difference between being pastoral and reaching out to people who might be divorced and remarried and they didn't go through the annulment process. We don't want to treat them like dirt. A woman who's had an abortion, we want to embrace her so she doesn't have another one. See, the Catholic way has a softness to it and yet a sternness to it. And I think it's misrepresented on both sides. And so that's where I would address it that way.
And I know it's a couple of weeks old, but did the Pope make remarks regarding specifically priests marrying and talking about that is something he is considering?
There have been some misinterpretations here, but this one here I'm going to give some of the media a break on. Quite frankly, when the Pope sits down with a 90-year-old man, in this case he happens to be an atheist, I wouldn't care if he's a devout Catholic, and there's no tape recorder and there's no notes being taken, and this is the second time this has happened. If in fact he's been misinterpreted, I think the Holy Father has some of the blame for that himself. Maybe the next time somebody ought to cue him in and say, take the tape recorder going, but don't have an old man come out there and then give us his version, and then you have Father Lombardi out of the Vatican trying to walk it back and explain what he said. So I think the Vatican deserves some blame on that as well.
So because he put his faith in the memory, if you will, and the writings of a 90-year-old man without any tape recorder way to verify it.
That's where you're going to get the problem. And I think to blame the media on that is a cheap shot.
The health of the Pope. It's been discussed widely. It took me by surprise, because here we saw this vibrant man who was, constantly, going his own way, breaking tradition, driving himself, staying here instead of there and rearranging everything. And then it took me by surprise when I saw the reports. I don't know how substantial those reports are. They are. What are his health problems?
And I've known about it for some time.
What are his health problems?
Couple of things. Number one, he's gained an awful lot of weight since he's been Pope. Number two, he's fatigued. And he has missed a number of assignments and the like, so all of that is true. Now, I am not saying that he's teetering or anything of that nature. I'm simply saying, does he have health problems? Yes, he obviously has health problems.
And so if we could expect to see, as you allude to, he's missed an appointment here, an appointment there. So we could expect to see more of that until he regains.
It regains his strength.
Yeah, because it's not a systemic. It's not congenital.
No, we're not talking about some kind of a congenital problem that he's going to drop or something of that nature. But he probably needs some more rest, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think
maybe he should rest as much as our president does, and then he'd be healthier, because this guy doesn't seem to work for a living.
Well, then he'd have to play pool. He'd have to play golf, and I don't know.
Well, maybe the mayor of New York has a good idea. He just takes off whenever they have a crisis. Now he's going to Italy.
He's going to Italy. Yeah. I don't know if he's planning on. I can only say I hope. I know the Pope is not political, but I would hope the Pope wouldn't meet with them with his political history. But that's interesting, because now the city council president is having her lawyers look into the legalities, because if the trip is scheduled for more than 9 days, then she gets to play mayor while he's gone.
She can't wait to become mayor.
I know.
The city's in bad enough trouble without her coming in. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And just as an aside, Long Island Railroad strike. That's going to affect you.
Yes, it will, and others at the Catholic League, and you know, it's very unfortunate. I just hope they come to a settlement.
Yeah, Bill, always great to see you, sir.
Thank
always
you so
great
much.
to see you. The one and only Bill Donohue, and I say this every time we have him on. I'm so glad we're friends, and I admire him so much. Not afraid to say anything about what he feels, and that's what makes him so great. And he's a great friend, and I'm glad to have him here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, folks, and let this be a lesson again once more. You know, when you hear the reports on what the Pope has said, it's always interpreted by whoever's telling you what those, those reports, who's giving you those reports. So if you hear it on MSNBC or CNN or any of the networks, just proceed with caution. And probably the best thing you could do is tune into the Steve Malzberg Show and know that if it's big enough and controversial enough and needs explanation, we will be in touch with Bill Donohue, and he will tell you exactly what the Pope meant. Okay, folks, we're coming back with, you know what it is. It's Gimme 5. You know it, you love it, you got to have it on the Steve Malzberg Show next. Don't go away.